So, let's start from the beginning, shall we? Yes, that little girl is me. And no, that little girl had no idea she'll end up in the world of artificial intelligence. Well, to be fair, when I was a kid, I had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up. And now, several decades later, I finally, But that's beside the point. What I wanted to say is that AI was nowhere on the horizon, not in my world. So I went and studied business. Then I started working in the media. Then I moved on to digital marketing. Now I'm in AI. Talking about AI in the media, AI in digital marketing, AI in, choose an industry. And I know you know, and I know you've heard it already. I know you've heard it today, but I cannot stress this enough. AI is no longer something that's in the future, that is coming. AI is here, it's already here, and it's here to stay. So I believe you can imagine that me being a co-founder of an AI startup and a VP of the AI Association, I'm an advocate of this technology. Because it really can be an amazing and powerful tool that can augment our capabilities. It can improve our lives significantly. I mean, just look at this. If it shows up. Okay. So much about technology. Just look at this. AI can help detect breast cancer 5 years before it actually appears. 5 years! How is that possible? Why didn't we have that before? Because now we can have an algorithm that can learn from 90,000 mammograms of 60,000 patients. That's way more than a single radiologist sees in their lifetime. And it's a scale and amount of data that no human is able to analyze, at least not in this accurate way. Or this, a bit more current, with the pandemic and vaccination. Drug research and discovery process is time-consuming, it's expensive. And the traditional process took about 4 to 5 years just to come up with a drug candidate. And now it can be reduced to months, again with the help of AI. And again, because of the amount of data that today exists, but that no human alone is able to understand. We need this technology to do it for us. However, it's not all peaches and cream. We've learned very often the hard way through experience that AI is not necessarily flawless. And maybe it's not such a bad thing or a big deal when it comes to simple applications, such as, for example, spam filtering. When an email from a client ends up in a spam folder, or an obvious scam attempt finds a way to your inbox. I mean, to me, this was funny, I have to say, because United Nations is giving me $3.5 million. Sure. However, and unfortunately, some other people might fall for this type of scams. So yeah, AI can have consequences that are more than just inconvenient, that affect our lives, but not in a good way, that don't improve our lives, but make it worse. So let's take social media, for example. I know you've already been asked who here is using social media. I think all hands were up. To be fair, my mom is using social media as well. The latest one being Twitter, which I learned this morning by seeing a bunch of notifications there. But social media, can be great. It can connect us to many, many more people than it would normally be possible. But it can also divide us. The algorithms of social media are polarizing the society. Because the algorithms are today the most powerful curators of information. So the ads, the articles, the posts of other people, our friends that we see on our timelines, are the ones that AI thinks we'll be interested in. Now, add to that our own tendency to hear only the voices that we want to hear, and suddenly we find ourselves in the information echo chambers. We encounter only beliefs and opinions that coincide with our own. We stop seeing different viewpoints. We stop adjusting our opinion as needed. We become more prejudiced, and the algorithms follow. Now, bias can creep into algorithms in several ways. So we've seen AI learns to make decisions based on training data. But what if that data in itself contains already biased human decisions? It means that it may, and probably will, reflect social and historic inequities. And since algorithms are made to match human decisions as accurately as possible, it means it's not fixing human bias. It's only reflecting it. Now, you might think that by removing the sensitive variables that cause the bias, such as gender, for example, or race, or religion, just name it, so taking it out of the data, that it might fix the problem. If only it were that easy. So let me give you the example of Amazon and their attempt of making a hiring algorithm, because they wanted it to pre-screen job applicants. Now, that algorithm learned to discriminate female resumes in favor of male candidates. So the Amazon engineers decided to take all the female-related words out of the resumes. And yet, the algorithm still favored male candidates, but not because it knew they were male. No, it learned to favor words such as executed or captured, which are much more common in male resumes. So ladies, if you're writing resumes, executed, captured, make sure to put that in, because even though Amazon scrapped the project, just to be on the safe side, you never know. So, the taking out of those critical variables obviously doesn't fix the problem. The Amazon's algorithm still was very good at telling male from female resumes, but it ended up being absolutely horrible in recommended good candidates. So the thing is, we treat these algorithms as if they're making decisions, but they don't know what the best, action should be or would be. They're merely trying to predict and trying to mimic what a human would do. And since humans tend to be biased, well, the algorithms will tend to be biased as well. Also, what happens if the training data is not really representative of reality? Let's say you're trying to make a facial recognition algorithm, but you feed it many more photos of light-skinned faces as opposed to dark-skinned faces. Can you guess which ones it'll be better at recognizing? Yeah, probably not difficult to guess. Or if we want to stay in the realm of social media and hiring and jobs, it might reflect in one job or ad for a job being shown to predominantly male audience and the other one to predominantly female audience. Now, that might not seem like much of a problem, unless both jobs have similar job qualifications and requirements that are regardless of a gender, and if they're shown to an equally distributed audience. You see, in that case, that ad placement algorithm is not just biased, it's actually discriminatory. However, obviously, fixing bias in algorithmic systems is not something that can be solved easily. And then again, to be fair, fixing bias in all other aspects of society is not something that can be fixed easily. It's an ongoing process. But that doesn't mean that there aren't things we can do, because we can. First of all, let's stop treating decisions made by machines as something that cannot be partial. That is definitely objective because it's not a human who came to that decision. I think we've just seen that it can be very, very, very partial. No, let's assume that those decisions will be biased. So, go and test those algorithms vigorously and rigorously, preferably before they're put into production and let in the real world. So yeah, Amazon might have scrapped the project before putting it and making it go live. Some other companies didn't. Just Google Apple Card discrimination and AI, and you will know what I'm talking about. Or maybe even let's go a step ahead, and anticipate that such problems might occur and design algorithms so they don't occur in the first place. Now, crystal ball does not exist, but having a more diverse team might do the magic. Because believe it or not, having people in the team who actually experience bias and discrimination in the real world might help in them figuring out where that bias might be lurking in the digital world as well. This is something that would probably solve a lot of problems, having algorithms that can be explained and interpreted as to how they derive decisions. Unfortunately, this is still a tough nut to crack, but it's definitely something that we should still be striving for. But until we have that, maybe some version of humans and the machines working together can mitigate bias. Having humans to double-check or triple-check the decisions before they go out in the world. And last but not least, if and when we encounter bias in algorithms, maybe it's not enough to just look at the data to check the algorithms. Maybe we should also take a look at the business-driven processes, the human-driven processes that might be the underlying cause of it. Now, even with all these challenges, I am still an advocate of this technology because AI can have so many potential benefits for businesses, for the economy, for society. It can help us tackle pressing social challenges, including the impact of human bias. And yes, AI can help with human bias, but only if humans get together first to tackle the problem of bias in AI. So, as the title of the talk was, AI knows what, but we should know how. Thank you.